My name is Dr. Aleš Bulc. I work for Wood PLC. It's a global engineering company with headquartered in Scotland in UK. Otherwise, we have offices mostly in Europe, Milano, Madrid, and I personally am sitting in Hamburg, and I'm working with Wood as a technical lead for hydrogen. So basically, I'm following the energy transition in Europe and really how to decarbonize and introduce the future of the hydrogen in all the projects that are happening in Europe. Basically, yesterday I participated in a group that was talking about European legal framework, regularia, how is that affecting the energy transition, helping, hindering the whole process. Was quite interesting discussion, because on one way, it's really European Union with its Fit for 55 repowering. It created the framework, the business case, that we have to think about the energy transition, greening, and really taking the climate changes seriously and what we can do. At the same time, it was quite obvious that the climate change is a global problem. You cannot solve it in a small region, and sometimes we forget how small Europe is in terms of the world, that we cannot solve the world locally. So we have to be, in our approach, very much more pragmatic, that we cannot change and save the world in a few days. It's a long process, because basically we are fighting between two battles. How to survive and progress in an industrial world, that we create products that are sellable, that we make a profit, that will sustain the quality of life that we have in Europe, while taking care of this world and what we're leaving for our children. It's a delicate balance between these two things, and sometimes in Europe we're trying to be, especially in Brussels, we're trying to be too perfect, trying to define everything that would be the end results, but the end results you don't reach in one step, but the small steps in the right direction. And also yesterday, when we heard how sometimes the European legislation is being passed, being influenced by NGOs, that we don't follow exactly who's financing those NGOs, so we're not always sure who are behind that. And we really need our elected leaders in Brussels, Berlin, national capitals, to take a moment of understanding what are the real technical issues, that they can have a vision and strategy how to get there. And because sometimes we are frustrated that with the best intentions, they put so many stones around our neck that's very, very difficult to run and achieve the goals that we keep Europe prosperous and going in the right direction. Because, just to give you an example, in US and Europe, we have roughly similar standard of living. Yet in Europe, we are using almost half the resources that US is using for the same amount of GDP. So we are doing something right. But really, how to use that one to our advantage, now that we're hearing that the industry, the new plants, is moving elsewhere, whereas the energy is cheaper, that there are less regulations. So we really have to reform, simplify the process, and keep the momentum moving in Europe. I have to thank the organizers that some of the sessions were very good. So I'm always trying to participate in most of the sessions. Sometimes they tell me that I ask too many questions, but basically the whole thing is that we have to provoke a way of thinking, different thoughts, and align in the process that we have to go. So it was really if I can summarize some of the other sessions, that we have a lot of technical solutions, but it keeps coming that we are lacking the political framework in which directions to run and why. It's clear that none of the states is rich enough to completely finance the whole new industry just with the public money. So the public money is only as a catalyst to moving in the right direction. So therefore, I have heard sometimes even desperate cries for our politicians to set the vision, stick with the green transition because it's it's really something that we have to fight, but in a process to be more pragmatic, that we are allowed and able to reach it without impossible economical consequences. Because we don't want to send all the industry out of Europe. We don't want to be a national park where everybody was visiting and saying how beautiful Europe is, but we would have nothing to do. We want to keep well-paying jobs here that when we retire, we have all the benefits and all that. So basically that somebody's creating the value. That's what we have to fight for. What was a bit surprising this time, what I heard the discussions about more projects being delayed or canceled than really ongoing projects. That's a bit sad, and that's one of the major things that we have to be talking about: ongoing projects, projects that are starting, projects that are moving, because basically only from the active projects we can learn, because on paper everything looks good unless we start really doing it. We have to make mistakes, we have to learn from those mistakes. So I'm really hoping that in the future conferences, discussions like that, we'll be talking about active projects, how they're moving forward, not how they are waiting in the drawers for the financial investment decisions. So this was one of the things that surprised me, that I have been hearing way too little about ongoing projects. I'm always optimistic, and I have heard these days quite a few rather pessimistic positions, but I have learned in my life that it's somehow it's part of the human nature that we change only when we need to. I think that right now the situation is getting urgent enough that people are recognizing that we have to change, we have to adopt, and take this sometimes not too promising situation as an opportunity that with the right focus, the right vision, we can really make the step in the right direction.